Coming up on another solo show adventure.
A big difference that I noticed pretty quick. I found this out first day. So at Walt Disney World, if they post that it's 30 minutes, you're not going to be waiting 30 minutes. It's more often than not. It's probably going to be like 20 minutes or 25 minutes. And the theory is if you're going in expecting a 30-minute wait and it ends up being a 20-minute wait, you leave happy.
Right.
They do it different there. If it's a 30-minute wait, you can expect to wait 40 minutes or 50 minutes because whatever reason, they do it the opposite.
It's Stan Solo and Ken the voiceover guy talking about Stan's trip to Disneyland Paris. What are the differences between the parks in the US and in Europe? This and a whole lot more coming up right now on The Solo Show. Brought to you, as always, by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney and the greater Orlando area with celebratingflorida.com and disneyatyourdoorstep.com. Realtor Victor Naraki makes living near Walt Disney World a reality, specializing in all the communities surrounding Disney. Whether you're looking to relocate or invest in a new property, maybe you want a vacation home for your retirement. With over a decade of experience in the area, Victor will adapt to your needs, help you find the right property, or get you the best price for your property. Reach out to him today on his website, celebratingflorida.com, or at disneyatyourdoorstep.com. Follow him at Victor Naraki Realtor on Facebook, and don't forget to tell him that The Solo Show sent you. What an exciting evening this is. I'm Ken the voiceover guy, and we've got a rare glimpse behind the scenes tonight as world-renowned conductor Herbert von Fluch directs the Grand Circle Tour podcast Cacophonic Orchestra while I read the Solo Show intro. What an exciting evening this is. Oh, here's Maestro von Fluch now.
1, 2, 3.
Broadcasting from the Solo Studios, somewhere in the pastry kitchen of a Parisian cafe, here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the center of North America, on this little planet we call Earth, this is The Solo Show. On this adventure, Stan and Ken, the voiceover guy, discuss Stan's recent trip to Disneyland Paris. What are the differences you can expect when you travel there? And now, please welcome your host, a man who only wants some hot water and soap on his next Disney trip. Here's Stan Solo!
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Solo Show. I'm Ken the voiceover guy, and no, I haven't staged another coup. Stan is safe and sound and here, and he is here to talk to us about his trip to Disneyland in Paris. And I'm not a bit jealous, even though I looked at your Facebook feed and all of the photos that you presented, and I'm not a bit jealous at all, not even a little bit.
Sure you're not.
But if you believe that, I got a bridge. Yeah, I got a bridge I'd like you to have a look at as well. So first of all, welcome back. It's good to see you. We haven't had a chance to talk for a couple of weeks now here.
Yeah, I was gone for more than 2 weeks, and I gotta say, my body's not liking this traveling overseas thing very much. I still have aches and pains. I did good the whole trip. My back was good, everything was good. After I got home, my body went, okay, now it's my turn to rest. every joint hurts, every muscle hurts, but man, was it worth it. I had such a good time. Disneyland Paris is an absolutely beautiful park. It's smaller than Disneyland. It's smaller than Magic Kingdom. There's less attractions, and I don't want to talk about the attractions so much because you can look those up anywhere. These are things that I want to talk about, things that I noticed that are different culturally or the way that they're built or whatever that kind of stood out to me. I was kind of, as I was walking through the parks and going through these different experiences, I was kind of jotting down notes. I thought, well, this is different. And I'm not trying to put down Magic Kingdom or Disneyland or Disneyland Paris. I'm not trying to say one was better than the other. These are just things that are different that I kind of discovered.
Just things that you noticed.
Yeah.
Now, because you've been to both Disneyland and Disney World many times, I think is a safe thing to say. But this was your first time to the to any of them overseas, over in Paris, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, first time overseas. So yeah, obviously it was the first time to Disneyland Paris. Yeah. So they have two parks. They have the Walt Disney Studios, which is very similar to the Hollywood Studios that you have in Florida, and then they have Disneyland Paris, which used to be called Euro Disney, which is similar to, like, say, the Magic Kingdom or Disneyland in California. There's fewer attractions, but kind of the same hub and spoke with the castle. You know, a beautiful I think they have the nicest castle in the world. I got to say that right off the hop. And well themed park. I loved it. I actually loved it.
Was there, just before we get into what we're going to call a top 10 or so, top 10 or maybe 20 or maybe however many we can get to, one of the things I wanted to ask you just off the top, is there a big problem with like a language barrier?
No. That was one of my biggest worries. In France itself, like in Paris, there were moments I went into like a bakery or something like that, and the people there didn't speak very much English, if any English at all. But all I did was kind of point to what I wanted, and then they pointed to something different, and I point to the same thing again, and they point to something different, and I point to the same thing again, and they got it. And then you just tap your card, or in my case, my Apple Watch, to pay for it. So like that type of stuff. But in Disneyland Paris itself, I don't think I came across any cast members at all that didn't speak English.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Whether they were custodial or working in the restaurants or attractions or anything, I think every single one of them spoke English, or a very good attempt at English. Mm-hmm. It was a nice break after 4 days in Paris to be able to speak English again.
Oh, I'm sure, because like you're like myself. My French is just enough to get my face slapped, actually, in most places. So
yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Well, let's dive right in, because that's what people are here for. They want to hear about this trip, and I got to tell you, I want to sit down with you in person sometime soon, and you got to give me all the details. So let's start with, what would you say, number 10?
Okay, well, I don't have these in any number or any order, but one of the big differences I noticed pretty early on, and I think I didn't know about this going in, the restrooms are quite different.
Okay.
In that I'm not sure if there's fewer of them, but there's fewer urinals, there's fewer stalls. The women's, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for them. Like nearly every single restroom. Now, I got to tell you, when I was there, the parks were completely sold out every day. They were at capacity. They weren't selling. There's big signs, sold out. Don't even ask for tickets. There's no more tickets left. Having said that, I didn't feel like the parks are very busy. Like I've been in Disney World and Disneyland where you're crowded. I didn't feel crowded at any time, but the restrooms, the women's washrooms, all day long, every day, all day, lineups out the door, waiting to get in. And the men's rooms wasn't so much out the door, but when you do get in, you oftentimes you have to wait for a urinal, or you have to wait for a stall, which would take even longer. And the urinals had like these minuscule dividers between them, which most guys aren't a fan of. We like our big dividers between the urinals. And then when you go to wash your hands, the coldest water they could find is what I think they imported from the Great White North, the water to wash your hands with. It's almost like they don't want you to wash your hands. And if you're lucky, you find soap in one of the soap dispensers. There'll be like 2 soap dispensers out of the 4 sinks, and one of them might have soap, and chances are the other one won't. It's like they don't want you to wash your hands at Disneyland Paris or something like that. It's hand sanitizers. I'd say probably half the hand sanitizers had no hand sanitizer in them. It's like this is the land of germs.
Whoa.
Is what it felt like. Like I don't know. I like hot water. I like
soap.
Getting my hands very clean. So yeah. And like Walt there's a quote with Walt when they were building Disneyland and there was a plumber strike going on. And they had a choice between, in time for opening, whether they're going to have the bathrooms working or whether they're going to have the water fountains working. And he said, "I'm not going to have people peeing in the streets, but they could buy a Coke if they're thirsty." So he told get the bathrooms going. I want the bathrooms going. I don't want the. And there were times where I could see people would just want to pee in the streets. In Paris, the lines were so long. So I go into the men's room and there would be teenage girls coming in with their dads because the line was too long for the women. The women's long was ridiculous. So I don't know. That's just something that struck me right away as this is different. This is not. And I found that for pretty much all of the UK and and Paris and France, in that you go to a museum and there'll be like one washroom in the entire museum, or there'll be like a huge castle or something like we're doing a tour of, and there's one washroom in the entire complex. Like, they don't like public washrooms there, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm a little less jealous right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that was something that I noticed rather quickly and all the entire time.
Yeah, I would think that would stand out pretty highly. Now, I wonder if that's something that a lot of other people. I mean, you're Canadian, and we've got certainly lots of American friends. Any of them that have ever been there, has anybody else ever said anything like that to you about the parks over in Paris?
It was a complete shock to me. I did hear that they have paid toilets at a lot of public places where you got to pay like €1, whatever, or €2 to use the toilet. In fact, when I got to the train station, I took the subway to Disneyland Paris, and I dropped off my luggage at the train station. They delivered it to my resort. I said to the guy, where's the closest restroom? And he says, well, there's one over here in the train station, but you got to pay €2 for it. Whereas if you go to the one in the park, it's free. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, I guess I'll go to the one in the park. Save myself a couple of euro.
Yeah.
Yes. So I noticed it very quickly. Let's put it that way.
That's hard to accept, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else you got for me?
So another case. So I said how the parks were sold out. They were at capacity, but they didn't feel crowded. Mm-hmm. Like I've been to Disneyland in California, and oh my gosh, you can't move. Like, it is, they're directing all the people to go in the same direction. They won't let you backtrack because it's just so busy. And I never felt that at these parks in the 4 days I was there. And one of the things that I noticed, I think this might have to do with it, is there's very few people pushing strollers. Like, okay. You go to Walt Disney World and there's a stroller parking. There's like, you go to a Haunted Mansion or any, especially Fantasyland, there's like 50, 60 strollers lined up in the stroller parking. Mm-hmm. And they're big, huge, massive strollers. Like, they're cutting back. Disney is doing a good job at saying you can't bring such a big stroller in anymore. Disneyland Paris, very few strollers. I think the most I ever seen parked in stroller parking is 5.
Wow, that is a big difference.
Yeah. And they're umbrella strollers. They're not these big,
and
huge,
just
massive
as many.
strollers.
I was just going to say, and just as many kids though.
Yeah, the kids walk like, and I think what happens in Walt Disney World and in Disneyland is that people use the strollers to carry all their crap, mm-hmm. and the kids, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like they'll have blankets and towels and first aid kits and creams and lunches and water bottles and like all this type of stuff in the stroller. And that's basically what you use to haul all their stuff around. Whereas at Disneyland Paris, they don't do that so much, I found. And same thing with ECVs. I think I saw 2 ECVs, like the electric scooters, mm-hmm. My entire 4 days there. A few people in wheelchairs that were using wheelchairs. And not that I understand people have to have ECVs. I'm not putting a knock on them, but it does take up a lot more room when you're at capacity to have ECVs and all these strollers and all that driving around. And I think that was the big difference, was in as far as feeling so crowded, perhaps. But there was very, very few, and there was a lot less, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And people with their kids. I was just saying, even people with their kids having just walking as opposed to being pushed everywhere.
Yeah. Another one too is like you go to. I'm finding more and more when I go to the parks in the U.S. is people have their support animals with them, and I'm sure a lot of people do need their support animals with them. I saw there's a guy walking around with a snake, his support snake in Walt Disney World. There was a lady with a pony at Disneyland. She had her support pony that she was bringing with her to the park. I didn't see not one support animal, not one dog, not one cat, not one chihuahua, nothing. Mm-hmm. There was no animals that they would bring into the parks at Disneyland Paris. So that was something that kind of struck me as, honestly, that was kind of nice, you know?
Yeah. I think probably that the whole support animal thing, and don't text us at the Solo Show. Don't write us. Don't email us. This is my opinion. I think that the whole support animal thing is very much a North American thing, and very much, I don't want to say trendy, because I'm certain that there are more than, I would say probably 90% of the people that have support animals genuinely need them. But I think there's a lot of people that just use it as an excuse, playing the system.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I shouldn't say for sure, but I agree. I think that there's quite a few that are doing that. Another big difference too is PhotoPass. I don't know why anybody would get PhotoPass at Disneyland Paris, because even like you go down Main Street at Magic Kingdom, you go down Main Street at Disneyland, and there's PhotoPass photographers all the way down Main Street that will take your picture in front of the castle or whatever, and you can go like 8 feet, and there's another one that will take your picture. You can go 8 feet, and I guess it's like it's not that meant that you go every 8 feet to get your picture taken, but you don't have to wait as long in lines because there's quite a few of them. Zero PhotoPass photographers down Main Street to take your picture in front of the castle. You get the pictures with the rides, with the attractions. They have like the same, like not Splash Mountain, but the Pirates, they have your picture and whatnot. But I saw one PhotoPass photographer in Adventureland, and he's doing like magic photos, and he set up, and I saw one in Disneyland, Walt Disney Studios, but very, very few PhotoPass photographers anywhere. And even like the characters are more like Disneyland where they walk around. So there isn't PhotoPass photographers with characters so much even. And if there is, they'll use your camera if you want. Like I got my picture with the Queen of Hearts and Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and I just handed them my phone, and they took my picture.
That's impressive, actually. That's kind of surprising. I would think that PhotoPass and having that available as a feature would be pretty much standard everywhere, wouldn't you?
Well, it is available. I mean, you could pay for it. I don't see how you're going to get your money out of it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a person looking for PhotoPass people, you're not going to find too many. So,
but do you think maybe that's something that's gonna eventually get phased out anyway? Because, like you say, everybody's got a cell phone, and every cell phone, even the most basic little cell phone, has got some kind of a camera on it.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you get the attraction photos that you can't get yourself.
Right.
Like if you're going down Pirates, you get the photo, or basically the attractions I don't do are the ones the thrill ride where they take your picture. They don't take your picture on Small World. Yeah. So that was something that was kind of surprising to me. It was how few PhotoPass photographers there were. Another thing too was you see people at, like when you go to Magic Kingdom in the morning, if you're there right at rope drop, and they'll be handing out buttons, whether it's your first visit, or I'm celebrating and you write on it what you're celebrating, or it's my birthday. I saw, I think, a couple that had buttons, and I think you had to go to City Hall to get the buttons. They don't hand them out. They didn't have them at the resort. When I checked in at the resort there, they didn't have the buttons there. People aren't wearing them. They don't hand them out. They're not, if they are, they're not. I didn't know where to go. Like I didn't see. I wanted to get my first visit button, and the line for City Hall was always so long. So I was like, I'm not doing that just for a free button. But yeah, so that's kind of. And I did hear that for sometimes it's a button and sometimes it's a sticker that they have, and sometimes it's nothing. It felt like it was nothing when I was there. Like they didn't have any buttons. So it's kind of it's a fun perk that you get when you go to the American parks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that seems, again, some of these things are just not making sense to me, to be perfectly honest.
Well, it's a good money saver for them if they don't have to buy how many buttons a day that they hand out at Walt Disney World.
True enough. I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. If they sell you PhotoPass and they don't have to pay PhotoPass photographers, that's a good money saver for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think anybody would buy it if they don't have photographers.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the things that everybody told me about going is, oh my gosh, I hope you don't mind cigarette smoke, because the cigarette smoke is horrible. Everybody smokes at Disneyland Paris. They have smoking sections in the parks, which they don't have at Disney World or at Disneyland, but they're in the park. They have the smoking sections, and people don't follow that anyways. They smoke everywhere. People will smoke on Main Street. They'll smoke in the stores. They'll smoke. I didn't find that. There was a couple people here and there that would smoke outside the smoking sections, and I don't know if it's a different type of cigarettes that they're using in Europe. They didn't smell as bad as they do here, I found. It wasn't a problem. It was something that I was expecting to experience and really didn't. Leaving the park, as soon as you get out of the gates and you're walking to leave the park, there was more people smoking. But again, it wasn't a horrible, raunchy smell that you get with American cigarettes or Canadian cigarettes, I find.
Mm-hmm. And I think, too, probably because everybody told you to be prepared for it, and you sort of prepared to be walking through this cloud of smoke, and then it turned out it wasn't anywhere near as bad. I think some people are maybe just more sensitive to it than maybe you are or we are.
Well, I really am sensitive to cigarette smoke. Like, I do not like it at all. Like, I could smell it, and it's gaggy, but I didn't find it to be that. It was a non-issue, basically.
Well, that's good. That's positive.
Yeah, so it was really nice. There's a lot of positives. Like, like the crowd's not as crowded, or the parks aren't as crowded. It's definitely a positive. A big difference between the two is the pin trading.
Okay.
So the way it works in Walt Disney World and at Disneyland is, if you have a pin, you can go up to any cast member that has like a lanyard with the pins on it, or the stores that have the pin boards, and you could trade a pin for a pin. You see a pin that they like, You can give them your pin, and they won't say no. They'll trade you a pin. I could probably give them a solo show pin, and they would trade me. Like, honestly, I've never tried it. I wouldn't try it, but I probably could get away with that at Disney World or at Disneyland.
Probably, yes.
Yeah. Disneyland Paris is a different ball game. First of all, there's very few cast members with lanyards walking around trading pins. Some of the shops do. And the shops that do, when you give them a pin to trade, they really look over your pin. They want to make sure this is an authentic Disney pin. They want to make sure it's not a knockoff or something you got off AliExpress or eBay from China or something.
Right.
So they do that first. And then they'll only trade you a pin of the same value.
Okay.
Which is kind of, I guess it's kind of nice. Like they have, like I was looking at some of the pins that they trade, and they're really nice pins. Like they had it was probably like 2 inches long pin of the 7 dwarfs. It was at all 7 dwarfs, and it was about an inch. It was a huge pin, and that was a pin that was available for trading. But you have to trade a pin that's the same value as that pin, which is probably like a $20 or $30 pin, I'm guessing. Yeah. So it's not as willy nilly, I guess, at Disney World or Disneyland. It's like serious thing to these cast members. It felt like. Is
that something you like to do when you go to the parks?
Not really. It's just something that I observed, though, that there wasn't as much happening. But I'm looking at the pin boards, and I'm like, these are really nice pins that they have available for trading. I should go buy the cheapest one I can and trade it. Then I realized, oh, wait a minute, these are different categories of pins. So you have to trade a pin that's of the same category for the same pin. Yeah. Right. So you can't just go buy a.
So you did no pin trading.
I didn't do any pin trading myself. I just was observing it kind of and how it worked. One of the things that Walt Disney World and Disneyland are very strict on is the selfie stick rule. You're not allowed to bring selfie sticks into the park, period. Okay. They have big signs when you walk in. They go through your bag. They'll confiscate your selfie sticks. They're all over the place in Disneyland Paris. I don't think it's a rule there. I didn't see a sign saying you couldn't bring them in. People were bringing in their selfie sticks, and they're doing their pictures up in the labyrinth and whatnot. And it's kind of annoying. You're trying to watch the fireworks and somebody's holding a selfie stick in front of you at night. Like it's kind of annoying. But it seems to be allowed. It seems to be permitted, which was something I didn't know going in, that this is something that they do there.
Now, I have to admit, I loathe those things. I hate them. I don't see very many of them, because I don't do a lot of traveling. But every time I see somebody, just say here locally at the park or down at the Forks or something like that, and you see them walking around with those things, and I just want to knock them out of their hands, to be perfectly honest.
They do have a good result. Like my daughter bought me one, and they do take really good pictures at cool angles. Like if you want to do like a group photo type of thing, a group selfie at a higher angle or something like that, they do work very well. But at the same time, when you're on an attraction, they don't want you looking where you shouldn't be looking with a selfie stick, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I mean, some of the attractions too, I mean, like not the ones that you go on or anything, but some of the ones are a little more action based. And the last thing you want is somebody with their selfie stick sticking out in front of them as they're, going by whatever that could knock it out of their hand and break their arm.
Well, even like on Haunted Mansion, the Doom Buggies face a certain direction because that's what they want you to see. They don't want you to see what's happening behind the Doom Buggy. But with a selfie stick, you could kind of do a whole video of what's happening behind the Doom Buggy. Yeah. Type of thing. So that's something that they don't.
So that sort of makes sense. And I don't know. I kind of agree with it. I mean, like I said, I'm not a fan of the selfie stick. So I think that sounds pretty awesome to me.
Yeah. But whether you are or not, that's just an observation that I had. The music in the parks and at the resorts, the volume is way louder in both of them. And I think I actually preferred the music, especially like in Frontierland in Disneyland Paris, with really good music. It was like the old Westerns when they would be riding horses and they had that high tempo beating music. It was that type of adventure music playing throughout all of Adventureland or Frontierland. Walking down Main Street, the music was very loud, very noticeable, which I don't know if it might be hard to have a conversation with somebody if that music is that loud, but as far as myself walking through the park, it was great. I loved it. It was loud enough for me to hear it.
Do they not? I mean, again, like I've said many times, I have never been to any of the other parks. So is it something that you've noticed, like when you are at Disneyland or Disney World, that you're kind of straining to hear the music? Or?
Well, it's not so much that you're straining, but you kind of every once in a while you hear it and you notice it. Like if you're near a speaker, you kind of notice it more at say Epcot. When you go to the different lands, they got the China music playing, they got the UK music playing. They have different music in the different lands, and it's kind of like a background theme. Whereas here you hear it, like they're blaring it at you most of the time. Okay. Like you're not going to miss it. You're not going to miss the music when you go to Disneyland Paris. Where you could miss it when you're at Magic Kingdom or at Disneyland. You have to almost be listening for it to hear it sometimes.
Well, being a fan of music, I mean, I'm certain that I would enjoy the fact that it's there and that you can hear it.
Yeah.
I find sometimes when it's just barely loud enough that you can't hear it, like when you're in a store or something, and it's just sort of there, and you find I find it distracting because I'm trying to hear it. You know, I'll stop in the middle of an aisle and go, oh.
Yeah, you can for sure. The tickets at Disneyland Paris are, so when you go to Disney World, you scan your Magic Band or your ticket or your card or whatever, you have it on your phone, and then you scan your fingerprint, and your fingerprint matches you to your ticket. So you can't take my ticket and use it because we don't have the same fingerprints.
Right.
When you go to Disneyland in California, they take your photo the first time you use your ticket. So now your ticket matches your photo. So when you scan your ticket, your photo pops up on the screen, and the cast member waves you through that, okay, this is Stan and not Ken. The photo matches, he can go through. Disneyland Paris, it's like a subway ticket. Anybody can use. I could give you my ticket and you could go. There was no ID matching the ticket at all.
Really?
So there were times when there was like, and the entrances are like subway entrances where you scan your ticket and the doors open up and you go through, and then they close, and the next person scans their ticket, they open up and you go through. So they'll have like one cast member manning 4 or 5 doors just in case there's a problem or something. Because people just go through on their own, just like they would on going on a subway.
Yeah.
Which was very weird to see, because I could borrow somebody else's annual pass and go if I have a friend that has an annual pass. There's nothing stopping it from the doors opening.
That's very unusual.
Yeah.
Like I can't find it. I can't see the logic behind that.
It gets people in quicker. There's
okay,
that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
You never have a door that's closed, that's not working, because you don't have to have a cast member at every entrance. There's one cast member can work 5 entrances, and people just go.
Yeah, you can see that being a cost-saving measure too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so, because the odds of somebody coming from the U.S. or from another country and knowing somebody that has an annual pass and borrowing their annual pass, or they're not going to go with them, seems less likely, as opposed to, like, if I'm going to go and there's a friend of mine that lives in Paris, they're probably going to want to come with me, and so I'll have to buy my ticket anyway. You know what I mean? So
exactly. That makes sense.
So sharing of tickets seems pretty unlikely. If you buy a 5-day ticket, well, it's only going to be good for 5 days. You're not going to be able to, I'll go for 5 days and I'll give it to you, and then you go for 5 days. It won't work that way.
Yeah. No, that's just not how it works.
Yeah. So it was just an observation I made that anybody could use my ticket and got in here if they found it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. So speaking of subway type doors and opening and entrancing, so one day I decided I'm going to take it was late. It was my first day there, actually, and I left Paris very early in the morning. I made rope drop at the park and stayed till after the fireworks. So I didn't feel like walking to my resort, especially considering I didn't know how far I had to walk or where it was or anything, because I hadn't been to my resort yet. I got off the train, went straight to the park. My luggage was taken to the resort. So I decided to take the bus to the resort. So I get to the bus stop. Now, at Walt Disney World, when you get to the bus stop, there's zigzag back and forth. So you could get the first person there is going to be the first person on the bus. The door opens and everybody gets on in order. Well, here it's like a subway where I get there and there's no line, there's no queue. It's just a bunch of people standing around waiting for the bus to show up. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how is this going to work? So the bus opens up, and I don't know how many doors opened up, but quite a bunch of doors open up. Everybody rushes onto the bus at the same time. The doors close and the bus takes off. The driver never gets out. Doesn't help anybody if they're in a wheelchair. Doesn't help anybody if they're in an ECV. Not that there was anybody in a wheelchair or an ECV. If you have a stroller, you got to be prepared to fold that up yourself and bring it on the bus yourself, because the driver isn't going to get out and help you. It was really, really weird. It did not feel like a Disney bus, and this was a Disney bus. Like it was an actual resort bus that takes you to your resort. That was really weird to have that happen.
Yeah.
So
I would think that would throw you. I mean, it doesn't seem like very good customer service either.
Well, it was quick because everybody got on in a hurry, and it really wasn't any pushing and shoving. Like you go like at the end of the night when I leave Magic Kingdom and I'm going back to Pop Century. Sometimes you're waiting for 2 or 3 buses to come and go, and each one takes forever to load because they're loading people up one at a time, and they're telling them to squeeze in further and use every space, and the driver's yelling at people, and people aren't listening. Whereas here, everybody got on, everybody fit on the bus that was waiting, and we all went. Like it was a crowded bus, no more, no less crowded than a Walt Disney World bus, but everybody that was waiting got on as far as I could tell. I know I did, so I was happy. But yeah, so
did you have to wait for a second bus or anything?
No, and that was the one and only time I took the bus. There was the time I walked, which is great too because the resorts are kind of set up. It was like a 5-minute walk to the park, maybe 6 minutes from, and I was at the furthest resort. So from the resort gate to the park, it was like a 6-minute walk, which when considering you're walking all day isn't much at all.
I was going to say that's fantastic, actually.
Yeah. So it is it's a lot more casual type of park, I find. Like I always think that Disneyland seems more casual than Walt Disney World or Magic Kingdom. This is even more casual feeling, I felt.
Yeah. But I think too, that's probably, again, going back to the difference between North America and European. European is a much more walking society. Everything is set up to do a lot more walking. Like in Canada, we take a car if we're just, going to go across the street to the 7-Eleven. We'll take the car. Whereas in Europe, they do a lot more walking. You see, I mean, they have the same amount of traffic that we do, but it seems to be that it's not people taking their vehicles just for a short distance. And certainly a lot more people taking public transit for work or as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. A big difference that I noticed pretty quick, I found this out first day within the first little bit. So at Walt Disney World, if they post that it's 30 minutes, you're not going to be waiting 30 minutes. It's more often than not. It's probably going to be like 20 minutes or 25 minutes. And the theory is if you're going in expecting a 30-minute wait and it ends up being a 20-minute wait, you leave happy.
Right.
I was expecting a 30-minute wait, and we were through in like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. That was great. It was awesome. They do it different there. If it's a 30-minute wait, you can expect to wait 40 minutes or 50 minutes because whatever reason they do it the opposite. Whatever the time is on the board, add a couple of minutes, add a bit of time because the lines are longer than they look or they feel, and the switchbacks. Whoever designs their switchbacks must have like a mathematical mind because it is crazy how I thought they were crazy at Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Like when you're going through the line and they go back and forth, they're really going back and forth and using every available little corner they can in those queues. But yeah, so I went to a couple. The first one I went to, it broke down, and I my first day, I had bad luck my first day, so I went to go to Peter Pan rope drop, and I think it said 30 minutes, and I waited in line for 40 minutes, and then I heard it broke down, and I'm like, okay, screw this, I'm leaving. So then I went to another one, and it broke down, and so yeah. But anyways, the line, what they tell you isn't always what it is. You can expect the wait time to be longer. Another thing too is you see more so in Disneyland, but also in Disney World as well, is people wearing, especially women wearing the mouse ears when they go to the parks. There's mouse ears everywhere. They're available in every store. Everybody has. People go to the parks and they bring different mouse ears for each land they're going to be in. I'm in Adventureland now. I got to change my mouse ears to my Adventureland mouse ears, and I'm in Fantasyland now. I got to change to my Fantasyland ears. Very few people wearing their mouse ears at Disneyland Paris. Yeah, I didn't see a lot for sale. I saw a few for sale, and a lot of them they seem to be smaller. Like I'm not sure if they got them off Etsy or what, but they weren't like the big full size mouse ears. They're like the mini, like they're smaller ears. But yeah, it wasn't nearly as many people wearing mouse ears walking around. I'm not sure if that's because they don't live in such a Instagram society where they got to take Instagram photos with their mouse ears. And I'm in Fantasyland. I got my ears on. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that was part of it, or if it's more families going and the families don't get the ear, I don't know what it was, but there's very few very few people walking around wearing mouse ears. And as far as guys wearing the hats with the ears, I don't think I saw anybody. I don't think I saw
Really?
anybody with any of the guys with ears on their hats.
So they're just poor sports over there, is what you're saying.
Well, maybe they spend their money on other things. I don't know. It was interesting. It was just an observation they made. There wasn't as many mouse ears walking around. We're getting near the end of our 10. I think we're around 18 now.
We're getting closer. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The partner statue was interesting. So as far as I know, every park in the world, the Castle Park has the partner statue in the hub. Disneyland Paris doesn't have so I went to Disneyland Paris first and there was no partner statue in the hub. I noticed that kind of quickly. I got to the castle. I didn't see the partner statue. I don't know why not or what, but yeah, there was no partner statue. I thought that was kind of weird. So then I went to Walt Disney Studios and the partner statue was, first of all, Walt Disney Studios is a weird park because when you get in, so you walk down Main Street, down the Castle Parks, and like Hollywood Studios, you walk down Hollywood Boulevard. So their Hollywood Boulevard is indoors. It's like in a sound stage, and there's all these restaurants and all that you walk by, and they're like cardboard cutout facades on all these restaurants and neon lights and flashing lights, and it's dark in there. And I guess it's supposed to be like Hollywood at night. So once you get out, one of the first things you see is the partner statue, which is like in a hub type area. So it's kind of weird that it's almost like right at the beginning of when you get to the park is where the partner statue is. It was just it's an observation I made. I thought it was a different setup for sure.
That seems a bit strange because isn't that supposed to be the welcoming you to the whole experience? Isn't that the idea behind the partner statue?
Yeah, well, yeah, like it's Walt holding Mickey's hand, and I guess it makes more sense being in Walt Disney Studios for the partner statue with Walt to be in his own studio. I don't know. It was just weird not seeing the partner statue in front of the castle. It was something I wasn't expecting. I didn't do much research into stuff like that, and I thought, that's different. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's unusual. That's all. It just seems unusual.
Yeah. It was unusual. It was a difference that I kind of noticed. And I guess the last thing that I like Walt Disney World and Disneyland, they're really pushing the mobile pickup. You get in and you order your food. I'm going to go to the quick service restaurant at 2 p.m. and I'm going to get my food then or whatever. You could pre-order your meals and you get there, and when you get to the restaurant, you click I'm here, and then your phone will light up or whatever saying that your food is ready, and then you go into the restaurant and you get your food will be ready, and it prevents you from standing in line. You don't have to stand in line to get your food. You can kind of hang out or in a store or whatever or near that area, and then my food's ready, I can go get it now. I mean, most people kind of wait outside the restaurant just kind of taking pictures or whatever.
Right.
Well, here when you use the mobile order, so you do the same thing, you click I'm here and it says preparing your food, and then you go and get in line in the mobile order line and it says we're preparing your food, but it never ever tells you that it's ready. And there's a huge line of people in the mobile order line. So then when you get up to the end of the queue, because people get there in the front of the queue, they eventually get their food. So I'm standing in this mobile order line and I say to the cast member, am I supposed to wait until it tells me? And they go, no, it won't tell you. Just wait in line. Okay. So I get to the counter and I go, yeah, I have my mobile order. Here's my number. And the cast member looks it up and they go, okay. And then they go and prepare your food and give it to you. It saves you 0 time. It doesn't make a difference at all whether you do mobile order or whether you go to regular order, because the only difference is you order it on your phone, but they don't prepare it until you get to the desk.
That's stupid. Sorry, that's stupid.
It's almost like as if nobody ever explained to them what mobile order is, or the app doesn't work properly or something. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like it didn't make any sense at all. And I'm looking at the people that are waiting in the regular lines, and they're just whipping through these people like crazy because they would order their food and they would start preparing it. And then when they get to the front of the desk, like to the counter, their food would be ready. But they didn't start preparing it until I was actually at the counter.
I don't think they get the concept of fast food.
Yeah. It was kind of, I don't know, like even when you go to McDonald's and you order on the kiosk, well, they start preparing it when you order it on the kiosk. So then when you get to the counter, it's already starting to be prepared.
Right.
They don't start preparing it until you get to the counter. So it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. But
I thought you were going to say that it was, something like that it was better there. I mean, let's face it, Paris is supposedly known for food, of all things.
The food was good. Absolutely, the food was good. But and the other thing too is So this is like I didn't have this one written down, but their food is very, very good, but they also like to take their time eating. Like food is not rushed.
Yeah. No.
Like if you order an appetizer and a meal and then a dessert, that's a 2-hour ordeal. They're not rushing to get to your.
Yeah.
I went into a buffet and I ordered a Coke. You order the Coke before they sit you down, and they give you a ticket. And it's a buffet. So when you sit down, they sit you down and you put your Coke ticket on the counter, and then the guy will come and take your ticket and he'll bring you your Coke or your coffee or your drink, or whatever it is you ordered. He'll bring that to you. So I sat down, I put my ticket on the counter, and I went and got the buffet food, and I ate it, and my ticket's still on the counter. I went and got a second plate of my buffet food, and my ticket was still on the counter. And then finally I had to wave down the waiter, and I go, hey, I said, I get my drink? He goes, oh, yeah. And I go, I would also like a glass of water. And it was like he was clutching his pearls, almost going, like he didn't do this, but the look on his face, like, what? You want water with your meal? It was like he was shocked that I want water with my meal. Like he was just kind of like, water? Like from a tap? Like he was kind of like yeah, I kind of have like a glass of water and my Coke, please. Okay. So anyways, so then he took my Coke order finally after I was done my meal, and I was just going to go get some dessert from the dessert part of the buffet. So I come back, my water's on the table with my desserts, and I basically finished my desserts. Now he comes with the Coke. like they're not in a rush to serve you at any of these parks, and some people like that. Some people like to have like a slower meal where you have like a half hour between each course. But I'm only there for a couple of days. I want to see everything I can. Like I don't want to be spending my time sitting in a restaurant for 2 hours on a
Right.
I mean, I was there long enough that I got to see everything. I shouldn't complain. But I could see for somebody who's only there for a day, make sure you tell your waiter ahead of time, hey, listen, we want our meat. We're not here. The restaurant's wonderful, but we're not here just to see the restaurant today. We got other things we want to see. Right. So if you could step on it. But yeah, so those are just some of the differences that I observed between the U.S. parks and the European park. And like I said, this is just things that I personally observed. It's not to put down one or the other, but oh my gosh, you got to get hot water in your bathrooms, guys. You got Paris. Come on. Yeah.
That's shocking to me. That's just terrible. I have to tell you that would almost ruin the trip for me, I think.
Well, it was a beautiful trip. It didn't ruin my trip, but you get used to cold water after a while. The other thing too, I'll kind of one more is they don't use paper cups or plastic forks or like disposable. Then nothing is disposable. Like you go to I went to when I did my mobile order. So I got I think it was a bowl of chili and a piece of bread, like a baguette, and a cup of coffee. And this is at a quick service restaurant. This is like, this isn't a sit down. And it was all on reusable dishes, which is really nice. Like I had to reuse it. Like they were plastic, but they reuse them. They're not like I took a picture of my food that was left over, and I was like, this is how much I saved or Disney saved going in the landfill on this one meal.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool.
That is terrific.
Yeah. You have the reusable cup, the reusable plate, the reusable bowl, reusable spoon, and reusable fork, and you just take it where you would have like these areas where you, instead of just dumping everything in the garbage, plates go in this bin, tray goes here, and nothing went in the garbage. I think I had a napkin, and the napkin went in the garbage. Yeah. Everything else is going to be reused, which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's terrific.
So I ordered a cup of coffee to go at one of the restaurants, and he gives it to me one of these reusable cups. Now I'm walking around the park with this cup of coffee. So I said to him, I go, what do I do with where do I put the cup after? And he says, don't worry about it. I go, well, no, but like, I'm not that I'm worried about it. Like, I don't want to throw it in the garbage, but I'm not going to be coming back here to put it with the other recyclable things. Like, what do I do with this cup afterward? He goes, don't worry about it. I go, I'm not worried. What do I do with it? Where do I leave it? Is there some place I could leave it? He goes, don't worry about it. All right.
Okay.
So like, am I supposed to take this cup home now? Like after I'm done my cup of coffee, like what am I supposed to do with this cup? So as I was kind of walking around, I noticed that the garbage cans, every once in a while, there'd be a tray on top of the garbage can. There'd be like some cups on top of it. So I just put it on top of the garbage can, one of the cups, and somebody came around and they were collecting all the reusable cups on top of all the garbage cans.
Oh, see, that's very cool, actually.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. That I like.
Yeah. So instead of throwing out this, a paper cup, they take them and then they wash them and sanitize them and they reuse them. And they're nothing to get excited about. They're not Disney themed. Like, there's not something you want to take home. It was like a dull gray Tupperware plastic. It wasn't. They were smart. They didn't make them Disneyland Paris cups because they knew that they would all end up going back in people's suitcases.
Yes.
They weren't something that you would want to take home. That you would want to collect. Having said that, the forks were horrible. I got fish and chips, and the reusable fork would not poke into the fish at all. It was the worst fork. It was like a spork type thing.
Oh, that would be so frustrating.
Yeah, I ended up just kind of cutting the fish and using more the spoon to eat to scoop up the fish because the fork didn't work at all. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It was a unique experience for sure.
So on the whole, is that something you would want to do again? I mean, you've been to the other parks multiple times. Is that somewhere you would go again?
If I lived in Europe, I would.
Okay.
I don't see a need to rush out there right now. I think I'd rather go to Tokyo or Hong Kong or Shanghai just to experience something different. If you're a big Disney fan and you go multiple times a year to the same parks every year, maybe 1 year just go to one park and go to Europe and go see Paris and go see Disneyland Paris. It's I mean, the flights are more expensive. The hotels are the same price. The park tickets are the same price. Your food is the same price. It's just the paying for the flight is going to be more expensive for you. It's something that I would suggest people do. I would suggest just do it. Like try it. Like instead of paying for flights 2 or 3 times a year, or if you go every year, maybe skip a year and experience something different is what I would suggest. Or keep doing the same thing you do every year and go to Disneyland and Disney World. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. But exactly. I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool to have done this. And I wasn't expecting Paris to be something I would love so much, but I really loved walking around Paris and just going into these bakeries and picking up a baguette and walking into a grocery store and getting some sliced cheese and some ham or turkey or whatever and making myself a baguette sandwich and sitting in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower on a park bench, even though it was chilly. You had to wear jeans and a jacket and whatnot, but it was a very unique experience. I thought. So
then, would you go back to just Paris?
Well, if I'm going back to Paris, I'm going back to Disneyland Paris.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I wouldn't go for 4 days. I went 4 days. I did 3 days at Paris and 4 days at Disneyland Paris. I would have reversed that. Looking back at it now, I would have rather spent another day in Paris and one last day at Disneyland Paris. 3 days is more than enough. I was talking to somebody and they say, well, I have kids and the kids like to do the same attractions over and over again. So we like to go 4 days to Disneyland Paris, which is fine. I mean, everybody does Disney differently. But for myself, I thought 3 days was plenty. The group that I was with, they only came out 1 day. They came out they did 1 day at Disneyland Paris and Walt Disney Studios. They brought the Premier Access, and which again, this is another difference. So we got Lightning Lane at Disneyland and at Disney World. So you have to book your attraction, and every 2 hours you book an attraction, and you have to, when you ride one, you can book another one, and you have to make sure, and once they're gone, they're gone. The way Premier Access works is you get to ride every single ride once.
Oh,
it's more expensive. Cool. It's about as much as a park ticket costs, but you can use it. You want to do Tower of Terror, you can do Tower of Terror. You want to do Haunted Mansion, you do Haunted Mansion. You do it whenever you want, in any order you want, but you do it once. So once you ride Pirates of the Caribbean with your Premier Access, you can't ride it again with your Premier Access. You can go in the waiting line and do it. And they have like the Spider-Man web slinger attraction there. They have Ratatouille there. It's a lot of fun attractions for sure. A lot of them are the same, but a lot of them are different.
I have to say, because I was, like I said, I've been sort of following everything you did on your Facebook feed, and anybody check out the stuff that Stan posted on his Facebook feed. The photographs are beautiful. The videos that you shot are fantastic. I was so impressed with that fireworks show from the Avengers campus. I was amazed. I want to see that so badly.
Well, you better hurry because it's only for limited time. I think the 15th or something like that might be over already. Actually,
I'd say that's because today's the 16th. Yeah, or as we're taping this, it's the 16th. So. Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, I think
this might have been the final week for it. And the first day I went, the drones didn't work. They just before they started the show, they announced that due to technical issues, we won't be doing the drones. So they just did the projections and the fireworks, which is nice. but the drones make it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a phenomenal show with the drones.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the one I saw because there was a lot of movement and a lot of animation to it, and it was just unbelievable. I'm glad I got to see it at least.
Yeah. I didn't record the one without the drones. Mm-hmm. It wasn't worth recording, I felt.
Yeah. So before we wrap this up, any final thoughts?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward. My goal is Tokyo 2025. Star Wars Celebration is moving to Tokyo in 2 years, so that's the plan.
I agree. I've already said I'm committing to this one. I'm going to try to go with you on this one. Maybe that'll be my first time. Hopefully not my first time, but certainly a trip that we'll have to. That'll be a big 2-episode show when we do that one. Yeah,
you got to come. You got to come, Ken. And like I said, like the flights are more expensive, but once you're there, pretty much the same price. Yeah. You know, for your tickets and your food and all that. That you're just paying extra for the flights when you think about it.
Yeah. Now, but when you think about where you're going, it's worth it. Yeah. But when you think about where you're going, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this has been a lot of fun and very enlightening. And I really want to go and wash my hands now with hot water, just because. If you enjoyed the show, make sure that you like the show, share it out to your friends. You can download us wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And thank you very much, Stan. And I really appreciate you letting me sit on this side of the camera for a change.
Don't get used to it.
Oh, no. Like I've said in the past, I'll pinch hit for you, but I'll never be able to replace you on the show. That's for sure. And I think with that, Ken, take it away.
If you have a brilliant idea for a future edition of The Solo Show and would like to take your turn in the guest host's chair, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us your idea for the show, and we'll contact you about a date and a time for you to join us. If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. All logos, sounds, and songs that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned solely by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of The Solo Show podcast. We hope you'll join us for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.